this thing called the centre ground, where everybody is a moderniser, everybody is centre-left or centre-right or centre-something or centre-centre, and they all share the same very narrow views, basically the views of Fabian social democracy with a bit of Gramscian Marxism thrown in, and that, as far as they're concerned, is what you're allowed to think. And if you don't think that, you're excluded from the political process. The results of this are catastrophic in many ways. First of all, the whole principle of our parliament is that it's adversarial. You have two parties which mistrust each other and dislike each other to a certain extent and fight each other and hold, therefore, each other to account. And that's gone. They now have to be pretty much restrained from embracing each other in public, and they certainly embrace each other in private.
Forgive me, watching Parliament, you don't get that impression. Watching Parliament, you don't get that impression. There may be not huge differences of principle, perhaps, but there's certainly mistrust and a sort of tribal adversarial vibe in that.
On a sort of personal level, but there's no politics in it anymore. The Prime Minister's Question Time, which is now the only parliamentary occasion which seems to me to retain any adversarial content whatever, is all about personality. It's a soap opera each week. Who can insult the other one more effectively about his personal failings? It doesn't have any political content. It's not designed to have any political content. And you actually have moments where senior figures in one party praise senior figures in the other. David Cameron's been doing it quite a lot to people like Alan Milburn and Lord Adonis, and quite a lot of the New Labour people reciprocated by muttering privately that David Cameron is not at all a bad chap. And this is what they really think, it's what they really mean. They are more or less the same. Mr. Cameron said in an unwise moment of candour that he was the heir to Blair. It's perfectly true. And quite a lot of people would like to, as it were, pass the mantle of Blair over Mr. Brown's puzzled head straight to David Cameron, and one can almost see it happening at the moment.
While you are not exactly an enthusiast for what the current Labour government has been doing under Brown, under Blair before him, you don't see salvation in the arrival of a Prime Minister Cameron in number 10.
Well, no, because it's not a political change. What we're being offered is change without alteration. That the British political system will be under new management, but it won't take a new direction, precisely because everyone's being diverted into this issue of personality, into the issue of competence, into what was in the major years the issue of sleaze and is now whatever you care to describe the morass into which British politics has wandered as. But these things are not actually about is the country being properly governed. They don't touch on the debates which increasingly trouble millions of people. How on earth are they going to afford to pay the enormous taxes levied on them? How on earth can their neighbourhood cope with the burden of mass immigration? Is anybody going to do anything about the levels of crime and disorder which plague them? Can anyone expect a reasonable education from a state school unless they live in a very expensive part of town? All these things are the real preoccupations of people, and politics simply doesn't address them at all. It has nothing to say to any of these people, and as a result it leaves all these issues increasingly to disreputable demagogues because respectable, serious mainstream politics has abandoned them.
And you yearn in the book for a true Conservative party. What would that be like?
Well, I also yearn for a truly radical party. I want there to be people who stand up and say, yes, we do actually want to undermine marriage. Yes, we do believe in mass immigration. We do want to dissolve the country into a European superstate instead of pretending that they don't and diverting the population with initiatives and gimmicks. I would like there to be a party which actually stood up and said openly, this is what we want to do. I think the party that I would like would be the one which dealt with the issues I just mentioned, which seriously wanted to restore rigour in education, which actually said we do believe that criminals should be punished for their wrong acts instead of being treated or crime being treated as a disease which was the result of child abuse and poverty, which it plainly isn't. And I would like to see a political party which said actually we would like to govern our own country. We don't want 80% of the legislation going through Parliament to be rubber-stamping European Union directives as it is now. We'd like to decide for ourselves, thank you very much, how we arrange our own affairs, and indeed our foreign affairs as well. All these things badly need to be said. They badly need to be said by respectable political figures. But as long as they're not said, they don't get raised, and they become the property, as I say, of dangerous demagogues who lurk on the fringes of our politics at the moment in a quite menacing posture.